Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming to the Salesforce LiveMessage webinar. My name is Harry Rattenberg, and I'm the president of Gear CRM. And I'm very pleased to have Meredith Flynn Ripley with us, who is the VP of Messaging for Service Cloud. And she's going to be kicking off this with the presentation, so I'll let Meredith jump in. And Meredith, kick it off, and then we'll go into the demo.
Okay, thank you, Harry. Can everybody hear me and see my screen? Hopefully so. Okay, first just need to start with the reminder that Salesforce is a publicly traded company, and this presentation will contain some future vision statements. Please make all purchase decisions based on currently available technology. So, thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm excited to talk to you about Salesforce LiveMessage, which officially launched last week. I'm going to provide a brief overview. Harry is then going to take you through some detailed demonstrations, including some admin and setup lookups so that everyone can see just how easy it is to put LiveMessage in place in your contact center. And we will end with Q&A. Please post Q&A throughout, and we'll gather all the questions and try to answer as many as possible. And if we can't answer everything, we will follow up separately in an email. Okay, so the journey to conversational service. I think it's important to remember that Salesforce has been focused on conversational service and really changing the game for customer service and meeting our customers increasingly increasing demands. And it's been a journey starting with social service as a product, which launched back in 2012. It's also been a big part of our Service Cloud mobile initiatives. Conversations take the form of very different types of media, including video. SOS was launched in 2014. And of course, we've augmented that with two-way video via SMS video chat earlier this year, and a mobile SDK last year. So really, conversational service has been a path that Salesforce is on, and it's focused on our primary driver of engaging with our customers on their terms and understanding that we need to be where they are, and we're all about communicating with our customers in new ways. And it's pretty important to understand, we all understand the power of mobile and how it has changed the game and raised the bar, because all of us have a device that gives us instant access to information at our fingertips. And so as a business, we need to deliver that same value to our customers. And it's been an evolution. We all started with the phone as the only way to contact customers, and that's why they were called call centers. And it certainly has evolved into the digital channels that Salesforce specializes in. Hard to ignore the fact that people are messaging increasingly. In fact, people are messaging 5 times more on their phones than they are using those phones for voice services. The number here of 80 billion messages just counts for SMS, WhatsApp, and Facebook. And there are many different messaging apps that are being used today. So when you think about this fundamental way that we're all communicating personally, there's a big conversation gap when it applies to service. And historically, and even today, the largest channel in a business's contact center is voice. Yet, most customers are messaging more than they're calling. And so there's this gap because service used to be get that through that phone call as quickly as possible, move on to the next. And all of these conversations are ongoing. People are keeping their inbox filled with conversations that ebb and flow, and they want to be doing this with the companies that they do business with. So the great news here is that Service Cloud is filling that gap. It's really leading all of our customers into this new world of conversational service. And there's a spectrum when we think about what conversational service means. It means high-touch conversations of people communicating with people, either through the field service, a solution that we have that arms not just your agents, but all of your mobile workers with the right information to deliver that excellent service. LiveMessage fits this because we can enable real-time messaging conversations between agents and people. It also goes the spectrum to low touch of communities, and LiveMessage will be integrated into communities more next year. And then no touch conversations It's interesting because most people, when they talk about messaging, only think of the bot type of experience or the self-serve of messaging with an automated response system. But Salesforce can deliver the full spectrum. And we'll share with you some of the results of our customers. You don't have to put a bot in and make it self-serve and automated to save significant amounts of money. In fact, with LiveMessage, just connecting agents with people, you can save companies significant dollars because it is a channel that is more cost effective and your agent productivity is going to increase. So Salesforce LiveMessage is really the next generation of conversational service available today. What it's doing is unlocking the messaging channel in your contact center, and it's not just letting your customers message with you the way they message with their friends. It's letting your customers choose the type of messaging app that they want to use. We started with SMS because that is ubiquitous. It reaches anybody. Not even people don't even need a smartphone in order to be able to message in. And we're also very excited to announce Facebook Messenger is now available. And Facebook Messenger represents the first in multiple messaging apps that I'll share with you on the next slide that we plan to add. The third element to messaging is the bot approach. And LiveMessage enables bots two different ways. We do what are called Service Cloud bots. And in fact, Harry's going to show you a demonstration of what this means and how you can configure this today, because this is all available declaratively within Salesforce, not through programming. And this is a Service Cloud bot is something that you can unlock. It's already within your Service Cloud installation, and now powered with live messaging, it'll create a very automated way that you can gather more information before the customer is transferred to the agent, or it could be entirely self-serve for simple FAQs. Think of Service Cloud bots as rule-based bots. They will become smarter with Einstein in the future. And then the BYO bot program. Because we're part of Salesforce, and Salesforce is an open platform and provides APIs to all of our customers, the LiveMessage API is going to be available to you later this year. So if you have a third-party bot that you want to bring into your conversation between your Service Cloud agents and your customers, you can use the LiveMessage API and implement that very simply. So in terms of what's on our roadmap right now, SMS and Facebook Messenger is GA. We will next be adding Line, available in the summer, and we plan to add WhatsApp and WeChat as well later this coming year. And we also plan to add more messaging apps. There are many different types of messaging apps out there that become very important, particularly geographically. And these will all be enabled through flips of the switch and configuration settings when you're setting up your LiveMessage system. So you can really control, all within Salesforce, the ability for your customers to use whatever messaging app they prefer to get into these real-time conversations with you, or through the Service Cloud bots. So what we're going to take you through right now quickly are three general demonstrations. The first one is really showing the conversational service, the human-to-human approach with both SMS and Facebook Messenger. Secondarily, and conversations can start with customers messaging in, but conversations can also start with automated alerts and notifications. A very typical way that people think about messaging, but the benefit to using LiveMessage is if that service delivery or appointment reminder notification goes out and your customer wants to change something, they don't have to call you anymore. They can stay in the messaging channel, they can message you back, and they can get into a real-time messaging conversation with your Service Cloud agent. And then the third example will be the no-touch example of what a Service Cloud bot experience could look like. So with that, Harry, do I need to give it back to you?
Nope, I can take it. I'm taking it right now.
Great.
All right. So, thanks, Meredith. And, so we're going to go through, like Meredith said, we're going to go through a couple of examples. Just a little bit of, sort of a background on this. These are going to be live examples inside of a demonstration org that we've built. Everything that we're going to be showing is out of the box Salesforce configuration. Really the most advanced thing that we're doing in here is a bunch of process builder type of work. but there's no Apex code, no visual force driving any of this type of stuff. So, as Meredith said, these are all things that, any administrator would be able to build, as long as you, basically have LiveMessage and, have this and have Service Cloud to be able to use this. We're also going to be showing mostly Service Cloud features, but, it doesn't hurt to mention that, there's no reason you can't use this for sort of sales activities as well. Most of our use cases are going to be, more on the service side, though. So just to start this off, I'm going to be showing my phone. All right. Okay. So first way just to start is, basically we're going to, have a user coming in with a mobile device. And you're going, pretend this is sort of your website where, you have, your customers can come to you to basically, start a live chat, ask a question, search your knowledge base. There's also no reason why you can't have a button there to basically start a text conversation or, basically text us right there from your mobile site. So this is sort of how I'm going to start the initial use case that we're going to show. So I'm going to click on text us, and basically, now I'm in a text window. And first of all, I'm going to put myself online. And now I'm available for chat and for messaging, and I'll go. There it goes. All right, so here is the message coming in. And, anybody that's had Service Cloud with Omnichannel, is familiar with these types of approaches. And I'm going to click Accept. And now, as an agent, I am, going into a LiveMessage session through this message. So I'm going to just move my phone around. So one thing to warn you a little bit about, there's lots of windows to be showing, similar to Live Agent. I have to show the phone as well as sort of the agent perspective on this. So you're going to see a bunch of different things happening here. But on my left-hand side, as the agent, here's, can you help me with my order? The agent has an auto response saying, hi, how can I help you? And we're going to show you in a little bit how you can set up these auto responses just like you do with Live Agent if you're familiar with the chat. But basically, instead of having to have your agent type this stuff each time, you can go from there. So now a second one is coming in. So let me just close that up. I can accept that. And now that I have another chat, you'll see that there's two tabs. And the Service Console is basically doing one tab for each of my conversations. So now I'm, as an agent, I'm engaged in multiple conversations at once. And this is one of those big sort of cost savings that you get. Obviously, with the phone, your agent can only be on one phone call at a time. When you start getting to the other channels like LiveMessage, your agents can handle 4, 5, 6 different conversations at once. So they're able to support more customers at the same time. And a lot of that's because of the Service Cloud setup where, you can basically move between the conversations and, very fluidly sort of be answering your questions while your customers are typing away. So basically, how can I help you? So now I'm going to, type in.
So while Harry's typing, actually what we see is on average, our customers' agents can handle 7 LiveMessage sessions simultaneously. And through their own cost estimates, they have told us that they believe the cost of a LiveMessage session is between 25 to 50% of the cost of a phone call. So that really translates to some significant return on investment story. And this is in a human-to-human connection of an agent communicating with a person. This doesn't even take into consideration any of the automated responses.
Yeah, that's a huge savings just for the amount that you can do here. And you can see as an example of this, on the other session, they've already sent me a message. So I'm in this session right now, having a conversation, and now I can see it's flashing yellow to tell me that there's another text that a message that I have to go answer. So I go over here, and I can see that they've actually sent me, an animation versus just a message. And this is where in these conversations, this isn't limited just to text, right? So you can send, from your smartphone, you can send it pictures, animations, videos. You can send any of these things that you can send in a text message through into the conversation. And, just thinking of that from the difference between sort of a phone call or even a live chat versus a sort of live message type of conversation, if your customer's sitting there with their smartphone, they also have a camera in their hand. So they're able to take pictures of what their issue is. Think of this from, if you have any kind of equipment problems, or maybe if something's unplugged and you can't figure out how to set this up, your customer is able to message with you and be able to send those photos to you of what they're looking at, with the exact same medium of their phone. That's a huge customer sat gain for your customers, because you're able to sort of get this information versus just sort of blindly talking them through what they might be looking at. So that's an example of sort of an easy text conversation. Right from here, you can do anything just basically just like you would with normal service. I can create a new case, start walking through a case process, or I can just basically be answering their conversations. When you're done with the message, these messages are saved as activities, and they would be linked to the contact that's there, and I'll show you that in a moment. And then part of the other thing that's here is once you do come into the conversation, essentially LiveMessage is looking for that phone number that the text is coming in from, or the Facebook Messenger, Facebook account, whatever the medium is that the message came in from. It's looking for that contact and any other relations in Salesforce they might have. So I'm going to show an example in a bit where you're going to see someone that has a lot of questions that have come in through messaging, and your agent, before they even start the conversation, is able to see that whole history right there. So let me just end these messages for now. I'm going to end these up, and I'm going to show you the Facebook side.
And both of these examples that Harry's showing, this is out-of-the-box functionality that requires an install of the managed package, and you're up and running within a couple of hours.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we're going to show the setup of that towards the end. It's, again, nothing we're showing here is code. These are all administration functions that we're able to do. One of the things, just before I jump into the Facebook, you'll see here, as soon as I ended that conversation, an auto message went to my phone, so I'm saying, thanks, have a great day. That's another thing that you're able to configure, to basically have a goodbye message. So let me close the phone for a moment, and now we're on our Facebook page. So we're going to show the Facebook Messenger. Maybe your customer is not texting, maybe they're on Facebook trying to order something. So from here, I can basically, go to my Facebook Messenger. And before I do that, again, I'm going to go online. All right, so now I'm available to take these. I'm going to go into my Facebook Messenger, close my phone. Okay, so now I've started a conversation from my Facebook Messenger. And if I go to Omnichannel, you'll see here, this is coming in. I click Accept. And very similar to the text message that we were just showing before, now we're in a conversation with Lauren Boyle, but through Facebook, right? So basically, well, let me type out through here. So, and now if I go to Facebook, you'll see the messaging come through. Yep, there it is. And then you're basically having that conversation through Facebook. Now, similar to the text side, you can, there's no reason you can't hold multiple conversations from Facebook as well. Here comes the second one coming in. So basically, now I'm having two conversations in Facebook. This could be Facebook conversations, text conversations, multiple type of messaging conversations, and very similar to the texting side, these do not have to be limited just to normal text messages. These also could be, images that somebody sends or animations, just like before. So, so basically, they're able to do multimedia type of conversations with you. And when I pull up Lauren Boyle here, you can see the conversation. This is a good example of right here from my detail page. Clearly, Lauren is not having a great track record with Lowe's over here, and she has lots of cases and lots of questions of things that's been going on in the past. As an agent, I'm able to see that right away as soon as I accept that conversation, and you're able to maybe look at these past orders. So, if she's asking a question about, case 1851, right from here I can click into it, and it's going to open up that case inside the service console, just like you would a normal, any other omni-channel type of approach, right? So, You have all that information right at your fingertips, and basically this is sort of the conversational side of LiveMessage. One thing just to note here, if I go back and let me just drop offline here. Oops, let me end the session first. All right, so now if I go back to the omnichannel side, one of the things to notice here is, similar to all the other omnichannel stuff, and we did a webinar on omnichannel last month, we're able to handle multiple channels at once, right? So you can have an agent, and this is a good example right here where it's available for chat and message. You can have an agent receiving chats as well as messages simultaneously, right? So that's a pretty common use case where you're seeing agents sort of getting all different types of messaging, whether it's a live agent chat or whether it's a live message type of message case. So this doesn't have to be where you have people dedicated just to messaging and then other people dedicated to chat. You can mix these channels together. And we talked about that last month with omnichannel. Very common use case is, when you're in these type of messaging formats like live message or live agent, typically you're also filling in the gaps by answering like more passive channels like email, right? So if you're also getting email, the cases come in while your messaging volume is low, there's no reason you can't be answering email cases at the same time. So just something to keep in mind, and you can really load balance your agents and mix and match your channels as well. So that is the conversational chat. So now we're going to go into an example of basically sort of like automated messaging using LiveMessage and using texting. So if I go to an existing case, I'm going to open 1248. This is an existing case that's in there. I'm going to show my phone again just so that you can sort of see the message coming in. All right, so I'm going to make myself online again. So then, sorry, let me just close that down. Like I said, a couple windows we've got to show at once here. So if I update my status, so this case is a new status. So now say you have a case in there, maybe it's tied to an order that a customer brought in. We're going to move this from new to waiting on customer, right? So basically I've got an update. Classic Salesforce, you want to send that update that, hey, your case status has changed or there's a comment that's been added to your case. Everything relies on email, right? So you're basically doing these email alerts to your customers. Oh, your status has changed. Go back to the community and you can go see your status update. Well, with everybody walking around with the phone or on Facebook and all these other mediums, we're not tied to just email notifications anymore. We can also send this through messaging, right? So when I change the status and I hit update, you're going to see the text message come in where case 1248 has changed the status for waiting on customer. And you can also do other types of messaging here, right? So basically you can be like, hey, here's your status change, that's great. And that could be all the message is, right? So just nice and formal, hey, here's an update of what's going on. Or you can also like sort of introduce ways of like, hey, if if there's an issue with this, or in this case it's a waiting on customer, hey, we need an answer from you. If you can call us right now or jump on a messaging with us, you can give us that answer. So right here, all I have to do is basically say type agent. And now I'm going to be brought back into a conversational chat through the LiveMessage to go provide that information that we're waiting on, right? So I click accept, and now I'm in a conversation with your service team to go close that case out. So you think about that today, right? When you're in Service Cloud and you have these cases and you need an answer from a customer before you can resolve their case, today you're relying on an email to go to that customer, and then you're basically, that case is sitting around waiting for that customer to get their email open and then basically send you a reply, right? And that's adding to your resolution time. With this, basically, most customers are walking around with their phones. You've sent a message right to them about their case, and right from a text message without having to even change mediums, they're able to go get to your agent and provide that answer of what's going on. So that's a huge game changer to basically get these cases closed and out of your queue as fast as possible internally, right? And right from here, I can basically start typing away. because as we know, customers always forget to give you critical stuff that you guys need to resolve these issues. And now you have it, you update your case, and now your agent's able to close this thing out, right? So not only are you resolving these cases faster, but absolutely, this is like sort of a great customer satisfaction metric, where you're able to get to that customer right away on a really convenient channel for them. So that's just one example of sort of status updates, but just think about, when you're doing Service Cloud, how many kind of email alerts that you're sending out, and just think of all the different use cases where you could basically be, potentially using messaging instead and trying to get those alerts out, quicker. And, giving your customers the choice is really the key thing here. All right, so I'm going to change that session out from the automated, and now we're going to go into that next use case that Meredith was talking about and start looking at sort of some of the updates that we can send out and a little bit of sort of the bot side. So in this same case, I have, so basically this is sort of the scenario of an order shipment, right? So I have a shipment. So basically customers got this. I'm going to go into the shipment here. And, again, very simple use case. But, one of the things that you really want to look at, shipping is a great example, right? With live messaging and all these automated type of alerts that you can send out, you really want to take a step back and just be like, all right, how many, what type of cases are my customers calling in for, or emailing in for, or chatting in for, where that information already exists either in Salesforce or another system, where I can basically just get them that information without them having to call me or reach out to me, right? So a great example like I have here is shipping status. So, if you're shipping product to customers, every time you speak to a service organization about that, the number one type of case that's coming are people calling about, hey, where's my shipment? Where's my order? Why is my order late? They're asking all these different questions about their order. All that information already exists, in a system, whether it's UPS or, your own Salesforce. So why not be able to automate that, right? So provide channels to your customers where they can basically reach out and go find out about that order, or automatically send that information to them again through a text. So here's a very simple use case. This case has a shipping record against it. It already has a tracking URL, so we know this is going through USPS. We know the tracking number, and we just found out this shipped. Obviously I'm just clicking the box here to show it for the demo, but this could be automated with integration instead. I click save. Let me just go offline here. So I click save, and then now, basically that's going to go shoot an alert to the contact on that order, basically saying your product is shipped, here's your tracking number, and here's a really handy link to basically go look at that tracking information. As that contact, I can click on that text right there, and now I'm looking at my tracking information right there from my phone, right? So instead of having to call in and, basically waste an agent on a phone call, for information that was right there, now we're pushing that information directly to your customers, and they're able to click on it and get all the information they need. And again, just like we were like before, maybe this is now late, right? Maybe the information is telling them it's been delayed and it's not going to make it in time for Christmas. I'm sure a lot of you guys are already in that boat this week. I already have one present that's definitely not making it for Christmas, and I'm scrambling to try to figure out. This would be where right from that text message you can basically go, agent, and then get on to another conversation with the agent going, is there anything we can do? Can we get this thing faster? But only give them only try to get them to call in when they need to speak to someone versus, being the default to go call in and speak to someone. It's a really good way to deflect interactions to your customers, but in a good way. Instead of just trying to hide your service team, this is a way to prevent calls by giving them the information right at their fingertips. So that's a good one right there. Now the next use case we're going to do is essentially going to be more of the bot scenario, right? So now we're going to pretend that we're a little bit of an airport. Now let me get out of this message. Okay. All right. So pretend you're a flight, basically booking travel agency, booking different flight information. Obviously, flights change on a regular basis. There's all these different updates. So we have this flight from Delta, basically from Detroit to Grand Rapids, right? And I can tell you from a lot of experience that the flight from Detroit to Grand Rapids is never on time, right? So when this thing's never on time, you want to basically get updates out there. I think I drove to Grand Rapids more than I managed to fly to Grand Rapids over my lifetime. So, So what we want those updates basically going out to these customers, right? So let's just quickly go, all right, I have a ticket. I'm adding Harry to this flight. This is now, basically Harry is now booked on this flight. And boom, here's a text message that just came into me, right? All right, you're confirmed on flight 1623. And, basically you're now on that, and I just sent out that update to you automatically. I go back to this flight, and lo and behold, it's delayed again. So I'm going to basically flag this as delayed. I click save, and now another message is basically going to come in and go right to me basically saying, yep, you're delayed again. And I'm going to realize that I'm going to be stuck driving to Grand Rapids instead of making this flight, and I'm going to go get a car. So right from here, today I would have to either go scramble and whip out my laptop and have to go online and go change my ticket, or I have to wait on one of those the phone booths at the airport that take forever for agents to answer the phone. But now I have the option right here to basically speak to a bot where, hey, do you want to cancel your ticket? It's like, yeah, I want to cancel my ticket because I'm going to be stuck driving. So I just go cancel ticket. And now this is, basically interacting with a bot, right? So now we have, an agentless experience solving my problem, where basically, it just came in and said, okay, so you do want to cancel your ticket. So we don't want to, obviously maybe we want to confirm this, or maybe there's other things you want to do or other information we need to gather. We're doing this as a really simple use case where, right now we're just going to go, yep, I do want to cancel. Here's my confirmation, and I'm basically saying yes, cancel. But again, think about use cases where these could be any kind of questions that you want. You could be confirming their birth date or confirming their ticket number or any of those types of things. Instead, we're just like, okay, yep, please cancel me. And now I have a confirmation that just went back to me that, that basically says, thank you, your flight has been canceled. So now I go back to Salesforce, and as part of that, I go right into the ticket. Let me just hit refresh. And now, this ticket is going to be updated to canceled, the status, right? So not only am I able to, interact with the bot and get the resolution that I need without actually speaking to an agent, but then Salesforce is automatically updated with this information, right? So we now just had a full transaction where, we went back and forth with the bot, updated Salesforce with the information that came in from the messaging, and then, was able to confirm that stuff for your customer, all without an agent being involved, right? So these are those things you really want to think about is like, all right, what kind of use cases can we automate where we don't even need an agent involved, right? Are there places where we can do web service calls to our system to change an order status or fire off an update? Or can we do these types of interactions with bots? And then we have the agent there on call if we need to, right? So, you can always just type in agent, and then we're going to be back into a conversation. Or, again, they're on their phone, so they can also call in if they need to, right? So they have multiple options. But, are there ways that we can lower our total call volume by automating these bots and getting the customer satisfied without actually even having to speak to anybody, right? So, I mean, this is like sort of the nirvana. Customer satisfaction without even having to spend time and cost on an agent to go resolve the problem. So, definitely those are the types of things that you want to look at in your call center. And Meredith, I don't know, I know that you've got a lot of stats from customers doing these types of things. Is there anything you can speak to on the bot side of really good success stories or numbers that you've seen there?
Well, sure. Thank you, Harry. Those are great demos. So a couple of things. Even without the bot, right now, when our customers launch the LiveMessage channel, they quickly see it becoming 10, 15, 20% of all inbound communications in a matter of weeks. And when you think about this channel as 25 to 50% of the cost of voice calls, that's where you're going to get your cost savings. So, and that is happening with a direct correlation to reducing your phone calls. So people are reducing their phone calls 5, 10, 15% in a matter of weeks, moving them over to this channel, and then this channel is much more cost effective, and your agents have higher productivity rates on it. So with the bot experience, this is new, and your savings is going to be even greater. But the savings alone of just using messaging between your agents and your customers is already significant. And it almost always has exceeded customers' expectations. People have expected phone calls to go down 5% in 3 months, and instead you get 10% in 3 weeks. So It's also simultaneously increasing customer satisfaction, as Harry said, because people prefer to message than talk to you on the phone. So, it's a great win-win, of increasing customer satisfaction and reducing costs.
Yeah, absolutely. And not to steal one of your stories, Meredith, but one of my favorite stories that Meredith told, and we saw this on some of the rollouts that we did as well, is when you roll out LiveMessage, you're using the phone number that you already have most of the time, right? So you're able to enable your own phone number, your 1-800 number, your support line to receive messages. And when you first turn this on, even in your sandbox, and while you're implementing LiveMessages, you haven't even told your customers that this is available yet. Meredith has seen this with prior customers, and we've seen it as well. As soon as you turn it on and start building this in the sandbox, suddenly texts start coming in, and half the time you're sitting there going, who's texting these things? Like, I'm building this, I'm not texting myself. It's actually customers already trying to reach out to you with your phone number to your medium. So your customers are actually already trying to message with you. You're just not listening, and you're not turning on that channel for them. So it's sort of funny how quickly all of a sudden the texts start coming in, even if you haven't started advertising them yet.
Right. That's a very good point, Harry. And the other thing is, a lot of our customers, their first responses back from their customers are, this is the most awesome way to get support. I can't believe this. And they'll even test people, and they'll, if it's a human, it's even more exciting. They'll say, are you a bot? Are you a real human? Just because people are thrilled that they can get into real-time messaging conversations instead of picking up the phone and calling the companies that they do business with.
Great. So So just to sort of wrap the use cases, and we're going to go into the admin in a sec. But again, this fits right into like the whole omni-channel strategy of Service Cloud. Being able to provide multiple options to your customers, let them engage with you the way they prefer to engage. Don't force them into a channel that you think they want to be in. Offer them all, and then let them choose how to reach out to you. And this fits right into all the omni-channel strategy. And then there's all these other benefits of automation and the bots that really can lower the total calls coming in for you, and save your service group a lot of money. So
on that point, Harry, I would add too, this is a new channel. It really is been a missing channel in an omni-channel strategy, but it's not going to increase your workload, because it's really, people are moving away from the phone and instead going to be using this channel. So people might think, oh my gosh, this new channel might be all this new work for me, when in fact it's going to make your staff more streamlined, and it's really moving people that were handling phone calls into the digital channel space.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so now let's just sort of do, whenever we do these webinars, everybody likes to get behind the scenes and sort of see how this stuff is working. So let's do that. So I'm going to close the phone side, and there's really a couple different places here for the admin. So again, this is all standard Salesforce. There's no code magic going on or Apex, happening behind the scenes. So essentially, first thing is you have sort of a live text, live admin, page as part of the app. So you're going to see here that we have the SMS side and Facebook set up. Really they're sort of different channels, so you're sort of lining, so if you have multiple Facebook pages, you would have multiple lines here. If you have multiple phone numbers that you want to enable for texting, you would have multiple lines here. So I'm just going to go drop into one of these as an example. And, this setup is really similar to sort of how Live Agent is set up, and also sort of the Service Console in general. So basically this is where you would set up your, auto response messaging. What do you want your message when the text session starts? And again, you can have different messages for different phone numbers. So, if you have 10 different brands, each with their own phone number, you can have a different start message for each of those. What do you want to say when it ends? What do you want to say if it has nobody available? So obviously if you're only 9 to 5 and, someone's texting you at midnight, you might want a message, it's basically saying, hey, we don't have anybody here right now. Same with offline messages. So, no available is sort of the queue-based. Offline hours is basically when nobody's there. Similar to the rest of Service Cloud, we can set your business hours there. So those are sort of some of the basic setup sets there. One thing just to note is you're going to see, basically this concept called ITR enabled. ITR is basically, the setup inside of LiveMessage that allows that automation that we showed. right? So if you're basically using the automation, either from messages going out automatically or the bot, you would enable the ITR. And there is a little bit more setup that you just have to do as part of ITR, but again, it's all out-of-the-box type of functionality. And then really all you're doing here is assigning your users, so just like Live Agent, what users are available for this, what's going to pop in my service console when this happens, and then just sort of some of your other options that you have, critical alert timeouts, just like Live Agent, you can set you can determine how long is it before you need a critical alert. So if somebody texts you and you haven't responded in 60 seconds, basically the tab will go red and you get a critical alert to go, hey, you need to go get to this guy. They're sitting there waiting for an answer. And you can configure what you feel is appropriate there. And then you also have sort of transcript options of do you want these assigned to a task or do you want them saved as events. So this is sort of the basic setup here. And again, very simple. And this basically sets up that conversational text and messaging conversation, either with Facebook or texting or the future messaging platforms very easily. On the automation side, everything's really driven by Process Builder, right? So if you wanted to, you could use Apex, but you don't have to, right? You can basically use Process Builder. So this is an example of our Process Builder of that ticket bot that we just had, right? So you can see here through the flow, is the ticket canceled? True or false? Is there a ticket confirmation that they want to cancel? True or false? So these are basically the decision trees based on the answers that I was doing while I was texting. And then just like normal Process Builder, you can go into here and you can set up the actions. Give this a second to load. And basically you can set up the actions to say what's going on, right? So here's my formula, some variables, the object ID. Basically we're saying what's going on in each of these, right? So if I go, all right, on this one, set it to canceled, this is where we flip the status over to canceled once they confirmed. This is all out-of-the-box Process Builder, right? So if you work with Process Builder and all that type of stuff, you can basically start building these bots and these decision trees and walking this through. And that was a very simple example we did. We really only had that one conversation, of please confirm yes or no, or do you want to pick an agent? And if so, that would route right to here. But again, you can get very sophisticated with this, where this could be a whole conversation. And what you would do is on each of those steps, you would have one of these decision trees, and then you would say what happens, right? So, if I'm providing you with information like, order number, this field here would be to set the order number field on the case or, on the custom object to the value that basically came in through the text. And you can build all this out, and then, basically that's basically your automated process, and you're firing away from there. So again, super simple setup. Really, you think about what we just showed. It's a lot of power, a lot of automation you can do without even needing a developer. You do want to probably just make sure and think about your whole omni-channel strategy and how all these things relate, and what's going to happen when these things start coming in like that, and make sure you do have paths for your customers to escalate to other channels if they need to. But from a complexity standpoint of building this, once you know your process and what you want to do, these are pretty quick to build out, and as long as you can know sort of the advanced administration of like a Process Builder. So that is really sort of the setup here. We wanted to have 15 minutes for questions, and then we've wrapped up 1 minute early, so that's phenomenal. So let's start going through the questions, and we're gonna basically go back and forth with Meredith and myself based on that. So all right, so first question here. Are there internal applications, company users who do not have a Salesforce license, able to interact with users, services native within via the text? So I think, Meredith, basically saying like, do all, the users on the conversational side, do they need to have a license with Salesforce? You want to just talk about sort of the licensing side on LiveMessage?
Sure. So yes, so you do need a Service Cloud license. And then the LiveMessage is an add-on license on top. Our pricing is $75 per agent per month for one message type, and that comes with 500 packaged messages, paid messages, and that would be expanding beyond SMS to messages like WhatsApp, which will be charged in the future by WhatsApp. And if it's Facebook Messenger, it's unlimited free messages, because Facebook Messenger is free messaging. There's no charge associated with that. it is basically requires a Service Cloud licensed user. So it is a Service Cloud agent that would be communicating and using the LiveMessage product with customers.
Cool. And if I did answer, translate that wrong, please just just throw in another question, and then I'll jump back to that. And we have another question going. Can you talk a little bit more about bring your own bot? What would we be integrating with from an API perspective?
So it is a LiveMessage API, and it would be calling out to the third-party technology provider, or the bot provider would be able to add their own calls and insert the messaging into the string that would then be sent into the Service Cloud console and back out to the customer. So think of it as a call out to any kind of third party to add additional questions and to go beyond some of the rules-based process builder that you're seeing here. Instead of the process builder flow, you could just be calling out to a third-party provider. And that will be through the LiveMessage API, which will be available late Q1.
All right. So then the other one, this is another really good question here. So this is more like sort of industry specific, Meredith, and I'll let you take this one too. But what are the permissions required to basically send out these SMS messages? So similar to email, we have opt-in laws, opt-out laws. So the question is, what are sort of the regulations around SMS?
Sure. So SMS is treated and handled under the TCPA policies. So of course, when you think about the first use case that Harry showed you, customers are messaging in. So with a customer messaging in, there's an inherent permission, but we do ask that the agent confirms ongoing ability to communicate via text. And we do not advocate sending any text message out to a customer who has not opted in the first place. The part of the LiveMessage functionality, which we didn't talk about here, is an extensive opt-in, opt-out capability. So if you have a customer who's on an opted-out basis and an agent tries to send a message to it, the platform will block it, and that message will not go out. We can import in from existing opt-in, opt-out lists that customers may be maintaining, but it's very important that when initiating a message out to a customer, they have you have the permission in advance. Of course, as I said, the beauty of LiveMessage is many customers want to message in, and so obviously when they're messaging into you, they want to get into that conversation with you. But we do ask that you do confirm and put them on an opt-in list at the end of that conversation.
Great. And I think that this is sort of a good tie. The next question is like, can your agent initiate the text conversation versus the customer initiating it? And the answer there is yes. And I just quickly brought up a contact where we actually have that. We just didn't have that as part of one of the use cases for the demo. But right from a contact record, and again, you want to make sure they have permission to receive these. You would be able to click send a text message, and that would basically kick off a conversation that would then go to that contact. So if I bring up my phone again.
And Harry's showing you an agent sending a message to one person. The agent could also send a message to a list of up to 20 people, and the agent can use campaign features within Salesforce to do larger volume messaging. If you're going to be doing any messaging above 25 to 50 at a click of a button, then you will require either an 800 number, or if it's large volumes of outbound messaging, a short code. So a short code can be a phone number that LiveMessage handles, and that will let you do very large message blasts out using Salesforce campaign functionality to schedule those types of outbound messages. And again, the beauty of all that outbound messaging, which is more traditionally how messaging has been happening in a contact center, is that any one of those alerts, historically, if a customer wanted to change anything, they would have been told to call you. With LiveMessage, you can send those marketing blasts out, the service alert blasts out, but any one of those could turn into real-time messaging conversations with agents if you wanted to implement that. It's all up to you to configure. using the Salesforce platform.
Yep. Great. And yeah, and you can see, I just basically initiated that, and right there on my phone it came to me, and then I can reply back, and now I'm back into that conversational, conversational messaging, right from the service console. So that's a good example of how to initiate that. So then let me just get to the next question, close my phone again. In a sales use case, how would the rep agent experience be different without the service console?
Well, so LiveMessage requires console. So the sales rep would have to be in console and would be initiating conversations with customers or responding to conversations that customers have started in to them.
All right, so one question here is what happens if the customer saves a message as a contact? So basically, takes your phone number from the texting and then basically calls it. So I think that you probably asked that question before we talked a little bit about the way the phone numbers typically work. So most of the time, when you're using the phone number for the messaging, you're going to want to be able to it's also going to be your phone number that people are calling into. So if your agent does need to if the customer does want to escalate to your agent, actually you know what, let's talk, they can just basically call right in, and that would be your normal support line. There are use cases where you would want a phone number, maybe that maybe wouldn't allow inbound calls, but for the most part, you should, they can be enabled so the customer can dial right back in if they need to.
But I would add that most of our customers see NCR Silver, which is doing detailed tech support, where people think, oh, maybe it's going to get too complicated and they're going to want to call and talk on the phone. 97% of their messages stay as text messages, and only 3% are turning into phone calls. Great.
Well, Meredith, I actually don't know this off the top of my head, but one of the, so we can, get back to it if you don't know the answer, but one of the questions, actually, so saved in the session. So one of the questions is, then where do these get saved? So these get saved right into the session record from the LiveMessage, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Okay. Yep. All right. So they're basically saved right in that session message record. That was really easy to say. Session record as an attachment. Sorry about that. Another question is this being recorded and will be available later? So yes, absolutely. We're going to be posting this, tonight or tomorrow morning, and we'll send an email out to everybody that's here with the recording. So another question is specifically to an outbound message, not a reply to an inbox. Okay, we just talked about the outbound message, so we're there. Can an agent initiate the Facebook conversation versus the customer initiating it? So yes. Yep.
Well, no, right now the Facebook API, what Facebook provides to their partners, limits it to be customer initiated, or if the customer has subscribed to a subscription option of some sort, then it can be sent outbound. So that's a limitation of Facebook right now. An agent out of the blue cannot do a message to someone like Harry just showed you with SMS.
All right, so then one of them is, can you speak to best practices around delayed response / timeout? Yeah, Meredith, I'll let you, it's best practice, and we have ours, but I'll let you jump in on the best practice there.
So messaging does change the rules a bit, because when you think about how we're messaging, we might get into a rapid fire exchange with our friends, and then maybe somebody walks away from their phone and it gets picked up 15, 20 minutes later, might even be an hour later. So a best practice from our perspective is to let that message be open as long as possible. The service does, in these tabs that you see at the top, when an agent has multiple tabs open, if a customer has messaged in, you can set it so that they will change colors and it will turn red at a certain period of time if your customer has messaged into you and you haven't responded. But if your customer hasn't responded and hours have gone by, we recommend that you keep that session as open as possible and maybe close it at the end of the business day. And when you close it, you let the customer know, we're ending the session right now, we haven't heard back from you, but feel free to message us back in the future. It really is easy to keep the tab open, and you want to put the customer in control, and if they want to message you back 2 hours later, they can. Once you've ended that message, it does get saved as this session, as Harry's showing on the screen right now. And so if the message has been ended, the customer knows that it's been ended, but they know that they can message back in. And when they message in, that previous history will be there for the next agent that picks it up off of the queue. Another best practice too would be to really let customers know if they're getting into a bot exchange or not. And just let them know this is a bot. Okay, now I'm transferring you to an agent. Just, again, put them in control, give them the information, be transparent to them. Harry, do you want to add in on the timing question? Or?
Yeah. Well, just to sort of add one thing on there around, that's probably one of the big differences between sort of your classic chat and then messaging, right? So one of the big challenges that, service groups have with chat is most of the time when someone's in a chat, they're doing it from their web browser. They're usually distracted doing something else at the same time, right? And I'm sure most of you guys have done chat. I've done it. Everybody does this. You're working, you're on a phone call, and you're trying to get help on something, and you start a chat session, and then you forget that you're in a chat session, right? So it just sits there, and so a lot of time your agents are stuck on dead chats, where your customer is completely distracted and sort of forgetting that they're there, and yet that's where you have to have that process to go, okay, after 5 minutes of dead time, we're going to disconnect. With messaging, it's a lot more of like an active medium. I mean, you're not just on a browser that you sort of put behind the other browser that you're on and forget that you're in another chat window. You're on your phone or you're on Facebook, right? So you're in a much more active medium. We're seeing that the customers don't get distracted as much. So you obviously still have the problem, but it's nowhere near as bad as you have when you're doing, standard like live agent and live chat type of scenarios. All right. So then one of the questions was, can we have an SMS quick action to send out a unique SMS? So yeah, so that we showed it with a custom button. That's just what we had set up in the demo work, but you can do that in the case feed as part of a quick action as well. No reason that you can't do that. So then one question is, can an agent hand off an accepted text session to another agent? And I don't think we have that today, right, Meredith?
We do not have transfer capability right now. That is planned for the coming year.
All right, so one of the questions is sending a video or audio file also possible? So LiveMessage doesn't actually support a video file inside sort of the conversation window. So if somebody sent you a video, you wouldn't be able to play it in the window. But if somebody recorded a video from their phone and sent you the link to that recording, obviously you'd be able to open up that recording on your computer's video player and be able to play it from there. So that's that. All right, well, thank you everybody for attending our webinar. We had a lot of people attend, so we're really excited about that. We're going to be doing a few more of these in a Service Cloud series over the next couple of months. So please stay tuned to look for other webinars. And again, thanks for coming. Have a happy holidays, and we will be sending this recording out in the next day, and we'll basically email anybody that attended or registered, and we'll be posting it on our site. Thanks again, and have a great one.